Tap In, Tap Out. I'm your host, Alex, and as always, in this podcast, we tap into discussions around mental wellness, spirituality, and culture, and tap out of the patterns that no longer serve us. Amen. How y'all doing this week? I am surviving, I'll be honest. This week, well, actually, for context, I am graduating soon. Yay. Clap sounds. But I'm graduating soon, as in I think about a week, yeah. And it's rough in these streets, okay, to get these last assignments in. But I really want my degree, so I'm trying my best. On Wednesday of this week, I woke up and literally could not do anything, even if I wanted to. And I've been dramatic in the past and I've said that, but literally on Wednesday, I could not do anything. And it wasn't even like it was an energy thing, but it was just, I can tell and sense that my level of willingness was at zero, and I couldn't even work on, usually if I'm not doing school stuff or academic stuff, I try to do some creative stuff, so work on the podcast or edit something or whatever, but I couldn't even do creative things. I literally couldn't do anything. So about towards the evening, when literally I got nothing done, I just ended up giving in and just watching funny videos until I went to sleep, because I had to respect my body at that point, because I literally could not even think about doing work. The thought of doing work of any kind just made me paralyzed. And so I'm happy I took that break. I'm recording on a Friday, by the way, but yesterday was a Thursday, and so I felt a little bit better, and so I got some work done. Finished my last assignment, actually. So now I'm just waiting for some little assessment exams next week, and then I'll be done. But yeah, that's how I'm doing. I'm feeling a lot better today. Is why I'm recording and doing this podcast for y'all. But yes, this week was really rough. The senioritis is real, okay? But in a week, I will not be a senior anymore. I'll be a graduate. So period. Last episode, we sat down with Dr. Afia Umbilishaka from Psychotherapy. It was a very, 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 very good conversation. I loved having her on. Definitely, I'm looking to have more psychologists on the podcast who have different specialties, because I love digging into their research and also just their thoughts on the social landscape. So we talked a lot about hair and the history of hair, especially in the Black community, and also how hair can be used and is used as an entry point into having important mental wellness conversations. And it was amazing. So if you haven't listened to that, please go back and listen to episode 10, I believe. Also, hold the phone. We are at 10 episodes. We're at 11, I think, today. Which is crazy, because I just started this in February or March. I don't know. A month that wasn't April. So thank you again to everybody that's listening. I literally love all the listeners. We're building a nice, cute little audience, and I appreciate y'all for being here every week. I deeply, deeply, deeply appreciate it. Speaking of deeply appreciating the audience, it is time for the inbox. The inbox is your time to send me questions, comments, concerns about the podcast. If you have questions, you can email heartofshema@gmail.com, or just DM me at JustAlexToday on Instagram or Twitter. If you send in your advice questions, just remember that I'm not a licensed professional yet, but I can tell you what I would do, so keep that in mind. Okay, this is not official advice, okay? We do have a couple questions this week. Thank you guys for sending in your questions. It is really appreciated. I love answering them. The first question is, what makes someone intelligent? Great question. Honestly, for me, especially being a psychology person and studying intelligence for the past few years, I've learned to really step away from any preconceived notions that intelligence only relates to academic performance, because I think you can find intelligence in everybody and in everything, And so I don't know if I can necessarily define intelligence. That's a whole conversation. But I feel as though what makes someone intelligent is their ability to maybe handle a situation or a field of interest in like a nuanced way, if that makes sense. So, for example, you can be intelligent in the books, or we talk about being street smart, you know what I mean? So knowing like how to talk to people, you can be intelligent in communication, you know what I mean? You can be intelligent um in setting boundaries for yourself. Another example, I'm not for the streets because I'm not intelligent to be in the streets like that. But there are people out there that are intelligent in how the streets work and how to play the streets and run the streets. So they run the streets. However, for me, I can acknowledge that I'm not intelligent enough to be a part of the streets. Um, but there's an intelligence in knowing that you're not for the streets too. So you see what I mean? There's just an intelligence in everything and everybody. That's my opinion, at least. It's just a matter of like identifying that for yourself. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say for that. But I hope that was a clear answer. Another question we have is, what is your favorite high school and college memory? Very good question. It's trying to make me cry because I'm very emotional right now, about to graduate. But I did spend some time thinking about this, and honestly, I'm grateful I had so many things I could have talked about for either stage of my life. But I will say for high school, one of my favorite memories is definitely taking a Spanish immersion trip senior year to Costa Rica. It was 2 weeks. I got to stay with the host family. It was these two older couples. Not two couples. It was two people who were a couple. But they spoke no English. And so it was just really, really awesome to like force myself to practice and live with them. And we had classes during the day. And then it was based in San Jose primarily. And then we would have excursions every weekend or every couple days or whatever. And so it was a beautiful time. The country is beautiful. I need to go back, actually. I also lost all my Spanish that I possibly learned when I was there. So I hate that for me. But I really loved being forced to be in that environment. And I didn't mind standing out because I was there to like learn and grow. And I don't know. It was beautiful. Also, so the couple they were like grandparents. So in the day they would babysit their grandchildren, Matias and Victoria, and they were so precious. They were so tiny. And then on some nights we'd go to Matias's soccer practices and stuff, and it was just so nice. And I think about them often. I don't know why. It comes in waves. Sometimes I'll like forget I did that, and other like this past month I've been thinking a lot about that family. So I don't know what that means, but if I ever go back, I would definitely want to find them. I think I have their information somewhere, but yeah, they're great people. I had a great time. And also I think why it's my favorite, I think, is because I didn't go alone. Like it was like a school trip. So my Spanish teacher went with me, my mentor, Spanish teacher. But I was the only senior that went, and so I was with like younger students. So I really was just my own company. I mean, me and the other kids got along, but I didn't bring any friends with me, So it was just so good to show myself that I can experience something really amazing and not need someone there to like validate that experience for me. And I just loved just doing what I wanted to do, and experiencing it for me, and it was just so good. And yes, I wouldn't trade that for the world. I would definitely do it again, 100%. Favorite college memory, I now realize is a little similar, but spring break 2018, I want to say. The school that I'm at is near a theater, like an actual like big theater. And so anytime we get like Broadway tours and stuff, most of the time they come through. And so there was a tour of The Color Purple that year, and it wasn't the one with Cynthia Erivo, in case you're wondering. It was one with, I forgot her name, but it was, she was just as good. I mean, she wasn't, Cynthia Erivo is Cynthia Erivo, okay? But I wasn't disappointed that it wasn't Cynthia because the girl that replaced her was amazing. Um, but yeah, so you can get like student discounts at the theater. So I went to the ticket gate, got a little student discount, and honestly, it was probably like it couldn't have been more than $50. I think it was like 40, maybe 40 something, 30 something, I want to say. Anyway, for Broadway tickets or theater tickets, that's cheap as hell. And so I was really excited. And yes, I took myself. I went. It was around my birthday, I want to say. So it was honestly like my little birthday gift. And so I went and took myself and sat next to a little old lady, and we had a good time together. It was amazing. And once again, there's something about taking intentional time to experience things on your own and receiving that like self validation coming right back to you, that is super important for me and my growth as a person, I think, because I've talked a lot on the podcast about, the struggle to find your footing when you are juggling other people's ideas of who you should be. I probably talk about that today in the interview I have today, but anyway, I don't want to spoil it. But I'm always talking about that idea, and I think that it's times like those when I'm taking that step to like make space for me and hold it, and appreciate it, and then thank myself that I grow so much and I feel so much better in my own body and my own life because I can provide my own joy. I don't have to wait for somebody to surprise me, and they could, and that's great, but I'm not necessarily in the business of waiting for people to bless me when I can bless myself, and so that's why those are some of my favorite memories in my life in general, because there are times that I chose to do something for me and it worked out, and it was for me, so yeah, thank you guys for these questions. They are great. This week we have another guest on the podcast. Her name is Nneka Jones. We met at college, actually. She also goes by Art You Hungry on Instagram. She is a mixed media artist based in Tampa, Florida. Yeah, if you guys don't know, Anika's like talented out the wazoo. I don't know how she does it. Okay, intelligence. Can we talk about intelligence? Anika is intelligent, okay, in this art stuff, because if you go on her page, what she's most known for, I think, right now is just her ability to use embroidery thread and stuff, and it looks like paint on a canvas. The way she like, I guess, is sewing this painting together or something, like, it is crazy. She was featured actually last year on the front cover of Time magazine. Hello. She was commissioned to do a piece. You guys can look. I think it's the August, September-ish issue. But it was amazing. And so she's just full of wisdom. And I was really interested to get in touch with her because I've been wanting to get more artists on the show, whether that's music, art, traditional art, I'm really I don't know, been vibing lately with trying to like dig into the mind of the creative. So it was a great conversation. We talked about a lot of things. I kind of just teased apart her journey as an artist, and we talked a lot about being creative and how to balance that with mental health. And it was a good conversation. So we'll take a quick break, and then when we get back, we will tap into my conversation with Nneka. All right, it is time for the tap in, and I am here with an artiste. I don't want to mess up her credentials or introduction, so I'm gonna just let her introduce herself.
Thank you so much, Alex. Well, my name is Nneka Jones. I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago, but I came to the US in 2016 to pursue a Bachelor of Fine Arts at the University of Tampa. So I actually graduated in 2020, yes, during a pandemic. Um, earned my BFA and also a minor in marketing. And since then, I've kind of just been practicing as an artist, but an activist artist, and working with mixed media artwork.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I reached out to Nneka because I've been interested lately in like the life and the work of artists, as it relates to mental health. Because something I've been thinking about is, art is something abstract, it's something interpretable. And I think that for a lot of people who are, let's say, just working quote unquote normal jobs or having more normal lives,
Mm-hmm.
um, oftentimes they find art to be that escape for them, And so I've been really interested to talk to artists to figure out, okay, in this space of where you work, where your career is, that interpretable abstract space, like how do you find the mental health? How do you find the sacredness in your work, and also just protecting that quality in yourself? So I when I was thinking about who I could ask, I thought to reach out to you because I don't want to dwell on this. I feel like you talked about this at length last year, but Nneka was featured on the cover of Time magazine. I'm not gonna ask you to go into it because y'all go find the interviews yourself, like I did. But
Yes.
are you still like riding the high of that, or is it like, has it finally set in?
I think so many opportunities have came in after that yes, I am still riding the high, but I think I'm kind of balancing it with so many other things right now, which I'm extremely grateful for because I know that I probably wouldn't have had those opportunities if
Mm,
I wasn't on the cover of Time. But just going back to what you were saying about kind of balancing art and people who work quote unquote normal jobs and then they use
mm-hmm.
art as kind of like their escape and their hobby. For me, art is my 9 to 5 job. It's my everyday job. I wake up and
Yes.
that's what I do. That's what I know. It's not really a break for me. So I think it's important to have topics, especially with artists that are currently self-employed and working for themselves full time, because you kind of want to dive into their brain and understand how they're stepping outside of their normal work hours as an artist, and how do you differentiate like when you're being your individual self and when you're being an artist. And I
Yes.
think I'm kind of trying to find that space as well, and separating my time but also me as an individual and my personality. Not that I want to be many different people, but how do I differentiate, okay, when is my time to work and when is my time to relax, or when is my time to work and when is my time to socialize.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to find that balance currently right now.
Yeah. Oh, I guess maybe take us back a little bit. Like how you got into art. Also, maybe even if it's easier, maybe through like mediums. I feel like I know you've talked about how you've changed from starting in one way and then moving on to different mediums and experimented with that. So.
Yeah, so during my time in Trinidad, very, very early on, I would say probably from the age of 5 to 7, I could tell that I was just more inclined to doing art and being more crafty, etc. Even like in high school, I wasn't really paying attention in geography class or biology class, etc. I was just more focused on making sure that like my tables was right, my handwriting and everything was neat in my book, and like
Yeah.
the drawings and everything were perfect. And so it kind of started off with me having a love or a passion for drawing things. I would ask my family members to pose for me. Um, like they would kind of go to work or go to school and open their notebooks or planners or whatever and see like little stick figure drawings from
Mm-hmm.
my scribbles or whatever. And that kind of, they continue to support me. Of course, they probably were annoyed with the amount of drawings that they had seen. But they continued to support me and push me throughout my time at high school. And I had picked up another love for another media, which was painting.
Mm.
And from doing painting, I kind of started dabbling in mixed media and clay and working with sculpture, etc. So I knew that my artistic passion wasn't something that was a hobby for me. It was
Mm.
something that I felt like I needed to continue developing. I always felt like I needed to learn more. I needed to continue on this path of this artistic journey.
Mm.
And so I had won a couple of awards during my time in Trinidad, one of them being a national scholarship from the Ministry of Education. And with that, I took the opportunity to come to the United States to kind of broaden my approach with art and dive into contemporary art more, and using a lot more of the resources that were available here that
Mm-hmm.
probably would not have been available in Trinidad at the time. So when I actually got to the University of Tampa, that's when my media really, really expanded because I was no longer using paint anymore. I actually started experimenting with embroidery thread, even condoms and canvas, and my work just became more intentional and wider in variety in terms of the textures and the materials that I was using.
I like the word you use, intentional. I don't know why that's kind of sticking with me,
Mm-hmm.
but could you maybe talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, so I could speak about probably the time that I discovered embroidery,
Yeah.
which it's funny enough, it wasn't intentional for me,
Mm.
but it was intentional for my professor because we had done these interviews at the time. It was probably a class of about 15 students, which
Mm-hmm.
is what I liked about the University of Tampa because they had smaller classes and we were able to be intimate and personal with the professor.
Mm-hmm.
And during this interview, my professor actually was asking us about different things that we were interested in and what we wanted our artwork to communicate. So it started to click in my brain that okay, I was no longer just creating portraits just because I wanted to capture the beauty of this person or it being necessarily just for aesthetics and just to hang on a wall and then sell afterwards.
Mm.
It was more meaning behind my pieces.
Yeah.
And so he actually told us that he didn't want us to use any paint at all in our pieces. Find some kind of non-traditional material or non-conventional way of creating artwork that would look like a painting at first glance, but when you
Mm.
look closer into the piece, at the material, you realize it's not painting. And when you look further into the depth of the piece and the content of the piece and the context of the piece, you're able to get some kind of narration or meaning from it.
Mm.
And so that's when I had discovered embroidery and as well working with condoms. And at the time, sex trafficking and human trafficking was on the rise.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like it was important for me as an artist and as an activist artist, which I didn't call myself at the time, but I
Mm.
could see that was when things started picking up for me, that my work was more than just this piece that was supposed to hang on a gallery wall.
Mm.
It was something that was connecting with the emotions of the viewer and connecting with them psychologically and kind of getting that message out there through connecting with different people in different ways. So I saw my artwork as a universal language because people from all over the world, even when I would post my process pictures on Instagram, etc., would reach out to me and say,
Yeah.
even before they read the caption, they could tell what the
Mm.
artwork was about.
Yes, yes. I love that. Something I'm hearing or kind of tracking from your story is, when you came into school to like do this bachelor's, you weren't sure of maybe how it will look at the end, but you came with the
Right.
intention of making this work.
Right.
And even though you didn't come thinking of using condoms or using embroidery, like
Hmm.
there were things in place that found you almost.
Right.
You're looking to use needles, looking to use these condoms, but um, I think when we talk about intention, that's kind of what I think I'm getting at is like you set an intention, but you weren't hard pressed on how that intention was going to manifest.
Right. That's true.
And you were open to experience and open to trying new things. I think that's something I always loved about your story. I last year maybe, yes, I was tuned into your Adobe seminar because I was like,
Hmm.
I'm a little Nika stan. I'll be honest. I'd be in the back like, yes, girl, like do your thing. But that's something that always like I guess inspires me because I think growing up I was the kind of person that needed to know what year 4, 8, and 12 needs to look like.
Right.
And
Right.
I realized that wasn't even what I really wanted to do. It was just I just felt a comfort in knowing that I had a plan.
Right.
And so have you like struggled with I think I don't want to like generalize artwork, but I feel like there is this element of not chance, but just an openness to it that would give me anxiety, if I
Yeah,
decided to make yeah.
there's that fear of failure is what
Mhm.
I would call it. And during my time at Trinidad, when I was in Trinidad, a lot of people were telling me because it was around the time that a lot of students, when we were graduating, we would speak about what our plans were for the future. And of course, our high school teachers were asking us the same at the time.
Mm.
And I would say, no, I want to go to school to pursue art. And at the time, I had actually already submitted my applications to specifically art schools, no, not like university style, just art schools,
Mm.
for example, in New York, like Parsons, etc.
Yes.
And the University of Tampa was the only university that I had submitted to. And that was because people were telling me, you should probably have a plan B, because
Mm.
a lot of people that do art, maybe like they just end up looking at Michael's, or like, not that anything is wrong with that, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they start off with this intention of being this great renowned artist, and then
Yeah.
their career just, they don't follow through with it, and it just becomes more of a hobby. So you're kind of going to school to do a hobby when you
Mm.
could just do that at the side and focus on something that makes you a lot of
Makes
money, be
money,
a
yeah.
lawyer, so etc. So, but that was never me. I could
Yeah.
feel that my passion was with art, and I always had that doubt because of what other people, their perception of the arts, and that fear of failure. And so when I came to the University of Tampa, I actually have told this story a few times, but within my first semester, I actually went to my advisor and I told him, I'm going to switch my major. I don't want to do art anymore. I want to do business administration, and I'll do art as maybe my minor or something like that.
Mm.
And he looked at me and he said, Nneka, absolutely not. We have seen your portfolio from what you submitted when you came in as a freshman.
Mm.
You haven't even given us at least a year, first, like at least 2 semesters. Give this one more try.
Mm.
Um, Experiment a little bit. Don't take classes that you think that you all don't take classes for things that you already know. Kind of broaden your technical skills. Take experimental classes.
Yeah.
Take sculpture. Take different things, photography, whatever, and give it some time. And that was what the University of Tampa's program allowed you to do, kind of
Mm.
mix and match different things. So you had time to experiment before you really decided what you wanted to concentrate on.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. I gave it another semester and kind of played things around and took different classes, printmaking, etc., that I would never think that I would do before. And I fell in love with the program, and I also fell in love with the teachers or the professors. And that kind of made me switch my thinking to, okay, although people are saying that, you're probably going to end up doing this as a hobby, what do I really want to do?
Yeah.
And I'm making this decision for myself. Although I still have that little bit of fear in me, I'm
Yeah.
making this decision, and I want to at least try to pursue it. If it doesn't work out, then I'll find a plan B. But let
Mm.
me make this my plan A first.
Yes.
So that's what I did. And but at the same time, I still wanted that like kind of business aspect of it, because I
Mm-hmm.
know being an artist and being an entrepreneur, it goes hand in hand. You're not
Yeah.
just an artist and then that's the end of it. So I still did the marketing as my minor.
Love that. Thankful for that advisor that told you to keep with
Right.
it. I don't know who this was. I feel like I should be able to quote this, but it was probably someone I saw, like a podcast, but it was several years ago. I wasn't even in college yet, but it stuck with me. They were talking about I guess relationships you have in your life, and
Mm-hmm.
how we need people in our lives that can remember who we are, but when we forget,
Right.
and when we fall into that fear of like, maybe this might not work, or maybe and I'm too headstrong with this thing, let me step back. Like, having someone in your life who can step in and be like, hey, like, remember, you want to do this, and you're
Right.
talented, so do it, and so I'm always grateful and praying for people in my life who can do that for me, because it's hard when you're trying to manage the expectations of other people.
Right.
Is that something you've like struggled with in the past, like, or maybe currently? I don't know, but just how do you what's your relationship to people's view of like what you do for work and what you do for like in your lifestyle?
I think more so currently than in the past, just because of the success and the achievements that have happened in such a short space of time after graduating,
Mm.
that people are like, so what's next? That's always the
Yeah.
question every time I meet someone and they're like, so what's
Mm,
next? And sometimes I think it's okay to not know what's next. I think people expect you to have everything planned out
mm-hmm.
and have every one of my pieces that I create be perfection or up to perfection.
Yeah.
But it's okay to make mistakes. I think you find certain things out of art pieces or artwork, or even in a general sense, just making mistakes throughout life. Throughout those mistakes, you find different things that you learn from,
Mm,
and you're able to build on that and become a better person or become better in a technical way in terms of a different skill that you're learning, etc. And so when people would ask me what's next, I kind of got comfortable in the past few months with saying, I don't know, but I hope for so and so.
mm,
So I had to kind of step back a little bit because I felt like I was overworking myself to the point where it kind of flips and I was creating artwork to please other people or making
mm.
sure that my artwork was perfect when I posted on Instagram. So people would be like, yes, Anika, this is perfect. But that was not how I started off creating artwork, and that's not the path that I want to go on. I want
Yeah.
to make sure that I'm creating artwork that really is true to the sense of who I am, but
Yeah.
true also to the sense of the narration that I wanted to tell the story of.
Mm,
And not just that it's perfect so that people are telling me, oh, this is great, or this is perfect, and this is what I want you to create, or these are the standards that we have for you, and you've met those standards, if
yeah.
that makes sense.
That does, it does. I envy artists who are able to like kind of not detach the work from the career, but yeah, like disconnect or remove, because earlier we talked about we touched on maybe like the roles we play in our lives, and
Mm-hmm.
how if my role is to be the provider of the household and pay the bills, my role is also to be this artist who wants to create and inspire myself.
Right.
How do those roles coexist without one feeling more pressing than the other, or one needing to happen, or this fear of like not making the cut. And I feel like it is really inspiring to think about what it's like, or just being able to do the art but not tie it directly to your success in a
Right.
worldly sense.
Right.
And that can be so hard, because art, I arguably, the art you make or the art you sell is for other people. And so it's like, it's just so many layers of just, I don't know, like mentally I'm just trying to say, I don't know if I could do it,
No,
because
yeah, because, and I think even now with the age of social media, and
yes.
I think even more so with the pandemic, since everyone was at home last year and we were on our phones basically 24/7 because we had nothing else to do or
Yeah.
nowhere else to go or no distractions of work, etc.
Yeah.
I think it has made it to the point where artists have become content creators, quote unquote content
Yes.
creators,
Yes.
and we're creating work just as content and not
Mm-hmm.
creating work just to create work and for it to be artwork. It's no
Mm.
longer artwork, it's just an Instagram post, and you
Mm.
need to share this and share that. And I totally get that because, of course, you want to get more publicity for your work and kind of to get that message out there if you are an activist artist. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, mentally, it's hard because you have to keep up with the schedule of posting and what time you should post and
Yes.
what is your niche audience and all of these different specific things, and it kind of distracts from the quality of your artwork and what you put into your artwork, and you're more putting in time into, I guess, planning for social media.
Mm.
And so I think it's interesting that now we're having this conversation about that, like detaching, because I kind of am on a social media break where I'm
Mm.
not holding myself to the ground and saying, okay, you need to post once every single week or twice every single week. I need my time to create artwork, and I need to not be distracted by having those expectations that need to be met. Um, and it's okay to post 1 week and then leave a couple of weeks and then post another week. But it's also okay if you prefer to be on a schedule, if that works for you and it keeps you motivated, that
Mm.
works fine as well. But do what is best for you and your mental health, and try to find a way to live currently in the moment and create artwork that you feel you're proud of, but also kind of separate yourself from that, be your own person, and you can also have a presence on social media without having to be this perfect artist, content creator,
Yeah.
um, yeah, figure.
Yeah, I love that. My last question for you is, what inspires you to keep creating? You know, if it's not tied to this financial success or it's not tied to people, you know, waiting on, you know, people's approval or people's desire to see you, to see that what's next, you know? So what inspires you to keep creating art?
I think it will always be connected to my natural urge to create
Mm.
and my passion to just tell stories. A lot of people don't believe me when I say I am an introvert. So I don't know why. I think they think because I do speak well with interviews, etc., that I just enjoy talking to people a lot of the time.
Mm.
But my artwork, I kind of use my artwork as a prompt to talk to people. So like it kind of forces
Mm.
me to go out, have exhibitions, and they look at the piece and then, they're kind of forced to talk to me. Whereas if I'm in a social setting, I probably won't go up to someone and talk to them
Yeah.
randomly or start a conversation. So I'm kind of like using my artwork as this space where it's a conversation not only for an important topic or an important issue that's prevalent in society today, but also to kind of bring me out of my shell
Mm.
as an introvert and not necessarily change who I am, but get me more comfortable with just talking and interacting with people.
Yeah. Love that. Well, Nika, thank you so much for being a part of the tap in. I'm keeping you around for the
Yes.
tap out, so don't worry, guys. We'll take a quick break and then we'll be back with the tap out. It's time for the small business shout out. This year we're talking about Align. Align is an online store that provides fashionable, curve and plus size clothing. They have really awesome designs. They have a sweatshirt design. They have this really awesome scarf design with like different colorful faces. It was, I don't know. You're gonna have to literally go on the bio and look at it and be amazed because on the Instagram they also have lots of different ways to style the scarf as like a shirt or like a bag accessory and like obviously a headscarf. Like it's just a lot of ways you can use a scarf that I didn't even know about. So I gotta step it up. But please, if you're interested, their website and Instagram will be down below. They are Align, ALINE Attire on Instagram and alignattire.com. Okay, guys, it is time for the tap out. Nika is still with me. I asked Nika to bring me something she's trying to tap out. This is something that maybe it's unproductive or something that is a bad habit. Anything that you want to, stop doing, basically. So, what did you bring me today, Nika?
So I've decided that I'm going to tap out of overworking myself or having these expectations that I need to be working 24/7
Yeah.
to achieve success. It's healthy to take the risk and take different opportunities when they do come up, but that doesn't mean that you need to take every single opportunity that comes your way. I think breaks are important, especially for me as an artist. It's not
Yeah.
only my hands that are involved and my physical body, but I need to remember that my mind is also involved. And I'm sometimes to the point where I'm overworking myself, I'm not eating, etc. So
Yeah.
I think taking time, even if it's a whole day, just to relax, pamper myself, and enjoy my time as an individual outside of being an artist is important.
That's also my tap out, I guess, because I struggle with that a lot. And I love that you said, I mean, you didn't say this, but the separation or the distinction between your physical body and your mental, because I feel like
Yes,
sometimes, if most times every day, if I feel fine physically, I can work, and
right,
that's not healthy because I don't necessarily consider how my mental is doing, or I
right.
almost treat it as if my brain will be fine, it'll recover. I'll just sleep it off,
That's
but
true.
it's really hard to keep that balance, especially because there's, I mean, for me at least, there's no one in my like in the corner of my room being like, keep going, Alex, like keep going. So I feel
Right.
like when it's me in charge, I'm always like, you better go, you know, like
Yes.
you resting, you better be eating your food and watching a video on how to do that better, you know, or how to edit that part better, or how to, you know. So there's always, at least for me, I don't want to project, but I feel like there's always this need to feel like I can improve something, you know, or I can do
Yes.
better
I
at
feel the same
something.
way.
And so
Hmm.
even when I'm like resting, or I'm like eating dinner, or in the shower, I'm like, oh, I should Google how to do that better. I should Google how to, you know. do
Oh
you
my
do you
gosh,
struggle
we're
with
the
that
same
too?
person.
I
We're the
know.
same person. Literally last night, before I was going to sleep, I remembered an application that I wanted to apply for. The deadline was last night at 11:59 p.m.
Mm.
And it was like 10 something. I picked up my phone and I read through the requirements again. I literally got out of bed, sat down, and
Yes.
applied.
Yeah,
So
that
I need
happened to
to
me
find
this
a
week
way.
too.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, it's tough, but you know, I think. Do you think you found a helpful strategy that's been helpful in helping you up with it?
Yeah, so I actually bought like a planner. So I'll
Mm.
actually plan certain days where I have like blocks of work to do in different time frames. And then I'll literally put an X through certain days and be like,
Mm.
nope, you're not working that
Can't do
day.
stuff. Yeah.
So I know sometimes I'll like pick up my phone and try to do work, or I'll like keep refreshing my email to see if any new things are coming in. But
Mm.
I'm working on it. It's a work in progress. So hopefully, you know. What about you?
Yeah.
Are there any things that you've done?
I was hoping you wouldn't ask me, because I wasn't thinking. I was like, let me learn from Nika, because I don't know. Let me think. I feel like, yeah, definitely taking those days off. Like for me, I try to make Saturdays like a no work day. So like I just
Mm-hmm.
can't touch work. I have to either play video games or cook dinner or something.
Right.
Just I just can't do anything on Saturday. And I usually, sometimes I fail if it's like 6 p.m. and I'm like, well, you know, I rested. Let me check the email, you
Pick
know,
this
let
up.
me,
Right.
yeah. So I still struggle with that, but definitely setting those times aside helped me a lot. Let me see if there's anything else.
Maybe sometimes saying no to certain things.
Yes, yes, for
Maybe
sure.
that's something that, because I see a lot of people posting that on social media as well now. Like they try to say
Mm,
yes to every opportunity, but sometimes it's okay to say no.
yeah.
And yeah, I think getting better with that, and just not just saying no and being like disrespectful, but of course,
Mm-hmm.
res- having the person respect your time and you respecting theirs, because you don't want to say yes and then
Yeah.
you're wasting their time. Yeah.
Yeah, and for me it's hard because I'm sure you relate in a different way, but when my work is based in like mental wellness, and so sometimes if I want to like read a book, like right now I'm reading this book called After the Rain, and it's just a
Mhm.
nice, you know, meditation affirmation book. But I'd be like, this would make a good episode, or I should try to reach out to the author, or I should try to do this, do that, you know? And so it's like I've decided that something I want to try to do
Right.
is create separate things that I can't use for the podcast, or I can't use for like post, because it's not healthy if everything I consume is for the consumption of other
Right.
people, you know? And so I have books that I bought that you guys will
Right.
never know that I'm reading, or never know that, you know, my thoughts from it, or the takeaways, or this or that, because I need to have that separation, you know? And that's also why I play video games, because
Right.
it's, for me, it's creative, because it's like you can create the way you want to play it and how you finish it, you know? And I think I shared it maybe
Right.
episode
Right.
one, just to say that I play video games, but I'm not gonna tell you every week how far I am in the game, or what route I chose to beat
Right.
it, you know. So I try to find different
Right.
ways that I can still feel like I'm filling up my day without it, and subconsciously it is still adding to my personhood and my authenticity as a person, but it's not necessarily me giving it
Mm-hmm.
to my audience or giving it to the people to consume. So
Right.
I guess I do have things I try to do, or but it's not always that successful. Well, Nika, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here. This is your time to talk about anything you want to plug, any work you're doing, work that's coming up. This is your time.
Well, if anyone wants to follow me on my artistic journey, I'm at ArtYouHungry on Instagram, and my website is artyouhungry.com.
Thank you again to Nneka for coming on the podcast. I really loved our conversation. After it, I honestly felt so much, not even clarity, but just reassurance and just being on the right path, you know? And I think she brings just like a groundedness to herself that just made me feel more like at peace. And so I really appreciate it and love that conversation. If you guys are interested in seeing her work, check her out in the description. She also has a website where she's selling her prints and selling things like that. So if you guys want to support her, please do that down below. But yeah, that's the episode. So thank you guys for listening. If you have a question you want to send for the inbox, or you have a small business to promote, or you have ideas for a new episode, if you have guest recommendations, everything and anything, please send them to heartofshema@gmail.com or DM me on Instagram or Twitter at justalextoday. Those are my socials, Instagram and Twitter at justalextoday. You can find this podcast on Apple Podcast, and on there, if you go there, please rate and review it 5 stars. Thank you very much. Write a review. It helps us, get out there more. You can also find this podcast on Spotify, YouTube, Anchor, all the places, y'all. Also, the newsletter is coming. It's in the works. Okay. Have a little hard time right now with life, but newsletter is on the way sometime in May, hopefully. But yes, that's really all I have this week. So thanks again, Nneka, for coming, and have a good rest of your week, guys.